Alright guys, what's happening? Still moving forward with these pieces parts on this truck. Trying to get some little things together. This is the stone guard filler panel. Let me get a better look at it here. This goes between the top of the bumper and the bottom of the grill to keep stones from blasting the radiator, but it did its job because it's full of stone chips and missing paint. So like I did with those doors, we're going to strip this pretty much entirely where there's stone chips. And here is the cowl panel that goes between the hood and the windshield where the air intake is and the wipers pop through. And I have done this whole thing with 180 and feathered the paint back. This paint is failing to the best I can tell because it comes off pretty doggone easy, and I just keep sanding until it's not coming off easy anymore. It is kind of like dead clear coat. I mean, it's just coming right off. So we're just going to keep going over this and over this and over this. Everything else here is ready to prime except for the cab of the truck, which I haven't finished yet. And I'll take you over. We got the fenders sitting in a pile here, but I've already scuffed them inside. You can see some bare steel. Whoever painted these last time painted over the stickers for the fenders. And on the front side, they're completely stripped. I'd flip them to show you, but you get the idea. Just too many scratches in it to screw with. I started stripping the rockers down in there where all the rust spots were, surface rust and whatnot. The only place left that really has some, what I would call serious rust, and it's not even serious, it's just pretty good coating. Let's see if I can get up here to show you. This will be one of the last things I do. It's probably pretty dirty, but you can see right along this edge, we're gonna have to 80 grit the heck out of that to get all that off. But that's where the paint has failed on the roof and it's dying, and we have to strip all that back as far as it'll go until it stops coming off easy. So there's my welding repairs, and you can see there's a dent right there and there's another one. Oh, you can see it right there. So that's kind of what I'm working on now. Just kind of moving on, trying to get some things done. I've got doors pretty much cleaned up. I've got to take a red Scotch-Brite and Scotch-Brite all this because I'm repainting it. You can see where it's all worn through from rubbing on the weather seals up here. And I've already shown this in a previous clip, I believe. Started stripping the bottoms where there was some rust up here and rust in the bottom. But this is just Scotch-Brite work from here on out on these doors. Everything else is prepped and ready to go. The hood is ready to be primed. Broke through it in a couple of spots. There's some bare steel right down there and a little bit along. I didn't want to focus. A little bit along that edge. I just burned through the edges. I did start running the DA with a soft pad and some 320 along this bed, and it's dusty, but to me, you can't really see anything. I mean, there's still some pits. I didn't fill every damn last pit on this. And right before I paint this, I will go over it with a red Scotch-Brite to make sure and get a scratch where it's not so level. I mean, it ain't gonna be perfect. I'm not dicking around filling every last pit. I filled as much as I could on the sides. Some of that'll sand out yet. If I hit metal, I'll give a little squirt of epoxy on there and we'll be good to go. So I'm going to get this prepped up and I will bring you guys back once I get something going on. See ya. Alright, welcome back folks. More work on the F350 parts here. Doors are all prepped and ready for epoxy primer. They're going to get 2 coats over all the bare steel, especially on the doors inside. And I got some work over there, and then the bottoms. I don't know how well the camera can pick that up. It's just bare steel down there. It's all got an 80 grit scratch in it. The inside painted areas are only scuffed with the red Scotch-Brite. All the outside feather edge stuff is feathered out with 180 and 320. So there's a 320 scratch in all this. Now, bodywork is finished in 180, and I went across it real quick with a piece of 320 and then made sure any of the steel around it, I got as close as I could. I guess you could live with an 80 grit scratch in your filler if you're going to do 2 coats of epoxy and 2 or 3 coats of high build, but I don't do it that way. I've never had epoxy let go of body filler before, but I have had 2K let go of epoxy before because it was too cold. I've got it 80 degrees or 85 here in the shop, and I'm going to try and keep it in the low 80s, high 70s for the rest of the day. This hood's just got some little bitty spots on it where I rubbed through that I'm just going to hit the bare metal. I'm not going to mess with it. This entire filler panel, whatever you want to call it there, for the between the hood and the windshield, that whole thing's going to get 2 coats of epoxy. I want adhesion. I've tried to scuff down in these little circles the best I can. It is what it is. If it turd bombs, I'll strip it and start from bare steel. I just don't want to keep messing with it. I've scuffed as much as I can. This is the stone guard that goes between the bottom of the grill and the top of the bumper to protect the bottom of the radiator and so on. This has all got an 80 grit scratch in it. Exterior of these fenders, I explained before, they've been stripped. They've got an 80 grit scratch in them. They've all been cleaned. They are clean. And I'm going to do all my bare metal exteriors on all of this stuff. And then in the morning, I'll come over and I'll flip these fenders and seal the backside, and or I may just mix some reduced epoxy before I paint these, because I will seal up the backside to try and get some gray on them, and then I'll just blow the green color inside of the hood and just inside the back of the top of the fender where you see it before it gets to these, you can't see them, but where the plastic fender tubs are here on the tires. So I'll bring you back when I get some done. I don't know if you can tell, but I have nowhere to put a camera in here today. I've got 2 doors on the tree stand. I've got a hood on that fender stand. I've got 2 parts on the next one, and then 2 more fenders. I don't have any room to even walk in here. The truck's shoved as far as I can shove it the other way and still get stuff in and out. Bed's ready for paint, just the cab left and these doors. Cab needs body work. As far as I'm concerned, the body work is done on this stuff, aside from block and primer real quick with the DA to knock any strange feather edge areas out of it. So we're going to get it primed, and I'll show you when it's done. See you in a little bit.